This one comes from viewer vines-n-mead. It's a true story. It's a long one, so buckle up. Here we go. We bought a foreclosed home that sat abandoned for 20 years, but has good bones. We've been living in the house for 10 years now, and things have always been a little off. When my daughter was between 12 weeks to 1 year old, I would seemingly wake up in a state of sleep paralysis. The nightlight would be on in the room for the middle of the night feedings. I would see this black mass that would stretch from a corner that still creeps me out to over my daughter's crib. I would try to pray, but no sound would come out. I would keep trying to pray over and over, feeling like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, only to actually wake myself up for real, screaming a prayer for protection. The dog would always position herself between my daughter's crib, myself, and the corner. Sometimes at night, I'd wake up to hearing her growl, but see nothing in the room. We had the house blessed, and the black mass plaguing my sleep disappeared for years, and life was normal. However, things would disappear. One Christmas Eve, when my daughter was around 2 or 3, I was organizing and staging her outfit, but could not find her shoes that I bought a few days prior. Her father and I tore the house apart looking for these shoes, but they were nowhere to be found. Christmas morning, we woke up, got out of bed, started making the bed, and the missing shoes were magically on my pillow. The same pillow I had just been sleeping on 5 minutes before. After that, little things would happen like doors opening that were latched closed, lights being on in rooms no one had entered, and at night it sounded like a four-legged animal or several children were running back and forth in the upstairs or on the roof. We checked, of course, but nothing was there. We ignored it, had the home blessed again, and kept on living. For the past 2 years, this thing has mimicked my voice to my daughter and her father when I'm not home, mimicked my daughter's voice to her father and I when she isn't home, and mimicked her father's voice to myself and my daughter when he isn't home. It sometimes whistles in the middle of the night and also during the day, and anytime someone is alone in the home. However, there is no consistent pattern. The property we live on is very old. Land once inhabited by Tuscarora, Algonquin, Creek, and other indigenous tribes before the East Coast was settled. Our property was involved in a Civil War battle where a reenactment takes place every year. The activity is beginning to increase as my daughter is growing older, transitioning from little girl to little lady. I'm curious if whatever occasionally enters my home is tied to the land, the house, or something else. Recently, it decided to tour the house again. It was 3:13 a.m., and a strange scratching noise woke me. It sounded like my daughter's bedroom door opened and then closed, but my daughter was staying away from home that night, so her door should not have been moving at all. I waited a moment, holding my breath, thinking it might have been one of my cats playing. However, when I peeked out from under the blanket, all the cats were spread across myself and my husband. The dog was on the floor and was intently staring at the door, which was open so the cats could come and go as they pleased to the litter box, water, and food. The house was dead silent, and it's never completely silent in this home. Then I heard two footsteps that sounded like sandpaper rubbing along drywall. I stayed put, lying in bed. I cleared my line of sight and fixed my gaze towards the door. Two more shuffling, abrasive steps echoed down the hallway, and then a toy from my daughter's room was aggressively thrown into the bedroom right towards the dog. The dog became scared and jumped up on the bed, disturbing the cats and myself. Hell, I had just witnessed a frigging squishmallow fly into my bedroom. All my animals went stiff and had their eyes fixed on the top left corner of my bedroom doorway. As I looked up, This same black mass that has historically plagued me when my daughter was an infant and toddler was literally peeping down from the ceiling. I was cold and frozen. I couldn't decipher if I was experiencing sleep paralysis or if I was really awake until the dog, a pit corso mix, leapt from the bed, jumping in the air trying to bite the mass, which then just evaporated into nothingness. As I heard my dog hit the floor, I realized I was awake but unable to move while the mass was staring at me. After the mass disappeared, something big with 4 legs was galloping back and forth on top of the metal roof until 3:45 a.m. And then everything stopped abruptly. I was clearing invasive vines from the woodline of my property and wonder if maybe I poked the thing on my land. I no longer think this is just a mimic anymore, but I don't know what it is to properly address the issue. Yes, I've commanded it to leave. Yes, I've cleansed the house with frankincense, myrrh, sage, and more. I've had the home blessed by ordained preachers and ministers, but I just do not feel like this thing is bound by the same laws as other entities. I'm thinking 100% inhuman, possibly pre-existing most Abrahamic religions. I say this because Abrahamic religious prayers do not phase this thing at all, except to make it even more active. Any ideas what this thing might be, and how in the world do I get rid of it? It will touch me at night when my husband is away on business. It has sat on my bed, played with my hair, and it has hurled pots and pans out of the dish drainer or off the stove. I wake up feeling completely drained, like the life force was being sucked out of me and in a foggy haze. I get headaches and nausea when I'm home, but when I leave, I will immediately begin to feel fine. The previous homeowner did pass away on the property roughly 20 years ago, but I was unable to find a cause of death. I discovered my property was once part of the massive plantation that's been parceled out over time, so figuring out what happened on my 4 acres is next to impossible. I am working on getting cameras to help record what I'm talking about for proof. My entire family has encountered this thing, but I received the most attention. For a while, I thought the activity was calming down and going away, but it hasn't. I cleansed the house again, recited all the prayers, salted the door and window thresholds, hung iron above the doors, multiple blessings performed, even performed a deep cleaning because I figured it would help me ensure I'd get to all the areas this entity could inhabit. But I don't think it stays exclusively inside the house. It is outside too. I have a small cat sanctuary, and a particular area of their enclosure occasionally makes them all stare at it, wide-eyed, hair standing on end, and they ignore any food, treats, or interactions you try to give or initiate with them when they are in this state. They now completely avoid the section of their shelter that butts up against my bedroom. Even my house cats, pets I have had since before the sanctuary, refuse to go in my bedroom at all anymore. They used to sleep in the bedroom, but now they were only stand at the door, sniff, and then trot off down the hallway. When we let our pit corso mixed dog outside, she will now jump straight into protective mode if she is let out before sunrise or after 9 at night. This dog fears nothing, but she sounds like she could really tear something apart outside during these time frames. When I go to look, with my protection because we're out in the country, I'll find absolutely nothing but air. However, you can feel eyes on you, like your prey that's being hunted. My daughter was sick about 2 weeks ago, so I was sleeping on the couch to have quicker access to her if she needed anything. Her father was sleeping on the other couch since I wasn't in the bedroom. That night, he woke up at 3 a.m. He saw my daughter turn the corner from the hallway and crawl under the covers with me as he was making his way to the bathroom. When he returned, my daughter was no longer with me on the couch. If she comes out to the couch, I generally move to her bedroom with her at her request. Of course, he immediately went and checked in on her, but she was wrapped up snugly in the blankets like a cocoon with the dog lying at her feet. He immediately tried to wake me, but said I was completely unresponsive, which is extremely unusual since I'm such an extremely light sleeper. He said he didn't really see her in great detail, but he definitely saw her shape. That same night, I had a dream of a woman floating above me. She was carving things into my skin, and when I woke up, my body hurt, like I was recovering from surgery. Upon inspection, nothing visible had happened to me, but it sure felt that way. Her father has been having weird dreams too. He will shout in his sleep, like he is having a physical altercation with someone. I've awakened to him screaming, "Mother effer, get off my wife," at least 7 times within the past month. This morning at 4:47 a.m., the television cut itself on out of nowhere. I looked at the clock, the time on the television, and the news broadcaster announced the time as the television was cutting on. The news cuts on, extremely loud, and I asked my husband to turn it off. The remote was on a table closer to him, but he would have to had physically get up to reach the remote. We listen to rain or other white noise for sleep, and the TV cuts itself off at 1 a.m. on an automatic timer. Never had this issue before. I saw him get up, grab the remote, turn it off, and walk out of the bedroom door, which I assumed was to use the restroom. He doesn't remember any of this. He says he woke up to go to the bathroom at 4 a.m. He checked the clock and his phone. The television was off, and he fell back asleep on the couch. He had asked me if I was dreaming, but I was wide awake. In the bedroom, after he turned the television off, I closed my eyes and fell back asleep. Sometimes at night when we're trying to sleep, we can clearly hear Dan Rather or sometimes Walter Cronkite give late night news updates. As we lie in bed, we can hear faint noises sounded like a news anchor introducing themselves and welcoming everyone to the late night news. They begin reading headlines and discussing topics, but you can never quite make out what is actually being said. There is still the sound of running upstairs, and it sounds like 2 kids playing ball, bouncing a ball back and forth, but nothing is there when we look. Lights will randomly turn on when nobody is in a room, and they won't turn on when we flip the switch. Yes, an electrician has come out to check the wiring. Everything is fine. I've done some research and discovered there was the Battle of Tuscarora, which also happened on the land encompassing my property and the fields surrounding the house. I learned this was a massive battle between the indigenous Tuscarora tribe and the colonists. There was excessive loss of life for the indigenous people, and their tribe was almost completely eradicated from this land. I do not believe this is a simple cut and dry paranormal event. When you walk outside late at night or early in the morning, I will sometimes see figures. Some look like fog, some smoke, some shadows, walking in the yard across the fields surrounding my home and in the streets. My daughter is too petrified to walk outside by herself because she feels like she is being watched, and it fills her full of dread. She will go outside if I or her father are with her, or for a little bit with the dog, but she keeps her eyes fixed on the woods behind the house. The woods are full of cypress, which some tribes used as burial grounds, and the land itself is ancient. If you talk about this sort of stuff to people, they look at you like you're crazy. I don't know if it's the land or me that picked up something from somewhere, but it is doing more than ever and nothing seems to help. I think it's the land. Gut feeling, in my bones, it's the land. It doesn't seem harmful. Well, not all of them. We were told an old man passed in our home named Roscoe. So Roscoe has always been here. He is who watches the late night news after we go to bed. He is benign, caught in a loop. It's the one that is ancient that's concerning me. Any advice or suggestions from anyone who has experienced anything similar or has knowledge in such areas would be greatly appreciated. Wow, vines-n-mead, that's terrifying. We are definitely going to be sending our prayers and positive vibes your way. But yes, anybody with knowledge on these particular kind of things, please reach out, and we will definitely make sure to get the message to vines-n-mead. That's been Jay's Haunted Appalachia for tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Keep sending me your stories and suggestions, guys, and keep Appalachia haunted, y'all.